dive into homology and vestigial structures now, which can further strengthen the evidence or support we have for the theory of evolution, starting with homology. Homology refers to the presence of similar structures or traits that are found in different species, indicating a common ancestry. Can you maybe think of any examples off the top of your head of homologous structures? Homologous structures, such as the pentadactyl limb, penta meaning 5, so a 5-digit limb, that we find in mammals, reptiles, and birds, suggest that these species likely share a common ancestor. These structures have been modified over time to suit the specific needs of each species. This supports the theory of evolution, suggesting that these species evolved from a common ancestor and have inherited modified versions of the same structure. If we examine the forelimbs of different vertebrates, we can observe several key similarities in their underlying bone structure despite their diverse function. The humerus, radius, ulna, and various wrist and finger bones are all present in these forelimbs, although they may be modified for specialized in different ways to suit each organism's unique needs. The presence of homologous structures suggests that these organisms inherited a common ancestral forelimb structure, which has been modified over time to adapt to different environments and functional requirements. While humans use their forelimbs for grasping and manipulation, cats employ them for running and climbing, bats for flying, whales for swimming, and birds for flying and perching. Despite these functional differences, the fundamental structure remains similar. The theory of evolution explains the existence of these homologous structures by proposing that all these organisms likely share a common ancestor. Through the process of descent with modification, slight variations and adaptations occurred in each lineage, resulting in the diversity of forelimb forms we observe today. By comparing the similarities and differences in these structures, scientists can trace the evolutionary relationships among different species and gain insights into their shared ancestry. Homologous structures provide compelling evidence for the theory of evolution by demonstrating the presence of inherited similarities in different species. They indicate that organisms with a common ancestor have undergone modification and adaptations over time, resulting in the vast diversity of life we see today. The study of homologous structures helps us understand the unity and diversity of life on Earth, supporting the idea that all organisms are connected through an intricate evolutionary history. Now, let's discuss vestigial structures. Vestigial structures are anatomical features that have lost their original function in a species but are still present. They serve basically as remnants of evolutionary history. So can you maybe think of any vestigial structures that you might be familiar with? Yes, so examples of vestigial structures could include the pelvic bone in some snake species, as well as the classic human appendix. These structures have lost their original functions, right? Both in snakes and in humans respectively in these examples, but they provide evidence of our shared evolutionary past. Let's focus in on our example of the human appendix first. The appendix is an intriguing example of a vestigial structure because, well, like all vestigial structures, it supports the theory of evolution by showcasing remnants of ancestral traits. So in many other animals, such as herbivorous mammals, right? Animals that only eat plants, the appendix serves a function, right? It has a role in the digestion of cellulose-rich diets. It has a purpose. However, in humans, the appendix is significantly reduced in size and function, right? As far as we know, it's completely non-functional, but it's still there. The presence of a vestigial structure, like the appendix, suggests that our human ancestors might have had a larger cecum, which played a more prominent role in digesting plant matter probably indicating that our ancestors ate more plants. Over time, though, as our ancestors' diet and lifestyle changed, the cecum and its associated structures, including the appendix, became less crucial for survival and reproduction. Natural selection then gradually reduced the size and functionality of the appendix over time, generation after generation, rendering it eventually vestigial. The theory of evolution explains the existence of vestigial structures by proposing that they are remnants of once functional traits in ancestral species. As organisms evolve and adapt to new environments or adopt different lifestyles, certain structures or organs that were once advantageous and useful may become unnecessary or even detrimental depending on the situation. These structures may then gradually shrink in size or lose their original function over time, right? Generation by generation, getting less and less functional, more and more smaller, but still persist in some modified form, like our useless appendix. The presence of vestigial structures, like the human appendix, provides evidence for common ancestry and evolutionary change over time. It suggests that humans share a common ancestor with other organisms in which the appendix had a more significant role. By studying vestigial structures, scientists can trace the evolutionary history of organisms and understand the gradual modifications that have occurred over millions and millions of years. Finally, let's explore the captivating world of DNA sequence evolution.